Just under 5 months ago, Bethesda dropped Fallout 4's next-gen update. This promised bug fixes, some new content, as well as an overall upgrade to the game. In reality, the next-gen update ended up being a relative disaster for Fallout 4, as in the 5 months since this update has come out, things have just been broken. The next-gen patch shipped with many problems and even some broken features, and while Bethesda did work very quickly to resolve several of those, they've also just left a bunch of bugs in the game. Because, yeah, 5 months later, Fallout 4 is still broken, and as of right now, it doesn't even seem like Bethesda is planning to fix it. We have a lot we need to talk about here. How about playing a new game totally for free this weekend? Well, now you can with today's video sponsor, New World Eternum. The open beta is free and live right now, but you gotta act fast because this one is ending on September 16th, and console players can jump in this time. The open beta is live on PS5, Xbox Series X and S, and of course, PC. And don't worry, you can play with all of your friends now. Take on epic bosses in co-op, and thank God, crossplay is fully supported here. And while yeah, taking on bosses with your friends is a blast, you could also just take out your friends. New World Eternum has full-fledged PvP combat, or if you're more like me, you can explore this massive open world on your own. I like the solemn approach, and New World Eternum has some truly epic things to discover, but this is a true RPG as well. You can customize your character however you'd like. There's tons of gear to find and upgrade, and the classless system leaves tons of possibilities for speccing out your character. This game has swords, guns, bows, and even sorcery. Almost anything is possible in New World Eternum. And I mean, hey, it's totally free to try, so stop waiting. Download New World Eternum now and play the open beta through September 16th. The full game launches on October 15th, so make sure you check that out as well. The cornerstone of Fallout 4's new problems, and I guess I shouldn't even call them new at this point, these bugs popped up 5 months ago, they're not really new anymore, but nonetheless, the most notable of these issues has to do with stuttering. After the next-gen update, you install a mod that edits an NPC's face-gen data, and then when that NPC is loaded in, a brief stutter will occur. I imagine most of you have seen some examples of this online or watched videos on this subject. It's easily the most prominent aspect of what's broken with Fallout 4 right now. There's some tests out there that you could do on your own game to just see the worst example of this, how laggy things can get. But there really is the extreme version of this, and for the vast majority of the time, you won't get stutters that bad. So here, I actually want to show a more real example of what playing with the next-gen version of Fallout 4 is like. Here you can see just a simple run from Sanctuary Hills to Diamond City. This, of course, is a pretty popular route. If you've played Fallout 4, you've probably run this way. But you'll notice I constantly get these little stutters as I do so. Thankfully, they really just last a second, and even for many of these, almost less than a second in total. But after diving into many of the reports around this stutter issue, what you'll find is many users report that these stutters actually get worse over time. So even though they begin off as just a couple of seconds, or even less than that at the start of a playthrough, after putting in many hours, many had freezes that would extend for several seconds at a time and be quite debilitating. And then to be clear, this doesn't just happen. This is all caused by me downloading a mod for Fallout 4, so a really simple way to avoid that is just to play vanilla Fallout 4 with no mods installed. And if you're wondering what mod was causing all of these problems for me here, I actually had one mod installed for the game. Yeah, that was the unofficial Fallout 4 patch, one of the most popular mods out there right now, which, yes, does cause stuttering. And there definitely is a certain irony there, as the mod that is fixing things that are broken in the game is also in turn breaking part of the game. But like I mentioned before, that was just one mod. So here, perhaps in a more realistic example, I'm using several mods on this load order, and you can see things get a lot worse. Doing this walk from Gorski Cabin to Diamond City's gates, I get stutters from really minor to quite debilitating, as the game will freeze or lag for several seconds at a time. I've seen some posts online pushing back against this, remarking how these minor stutters aren't really all that bad. Well, pay attention to some of the footage I'm showing you in the background. This is my raw run from Gorski Cabin to Diamond City. Because yeah, while you're looking at some of the highlights or people posting clips of their stuttering, things will seem relatively minor, but as you actually play the game with some of these mods installed, what you'll realize very quickly is the stutters are incredibly persistent, and that really is the big issue with these. This walk was only 4 minutes and 10 seconds long, but during that time, I had 25 stutters occur. That is my game stuttering once every 10 seconds, and some of these stutters even last a couple of seconds themselves. So while yeah, some of these stutters do seem really minor and don't even last a second in total, it's just how many times they occur that becomes incredibly frustrating very quickly. And mind you, this isn't even a crazy load order. I'm using 12 mods in total here. And while yeah, each of these are confirmed to cause stutters, because overall, that's still a very light load order for Fallout 4. I know many PC players out there that have hundreds or potentially even thousands of mods, but you obviously can't play with those on the next-gen version of the game. But even as you can see here, with just 12 mods, some of these stutters do begin to get really bad. Having control taken away from you for even a second or two on a regular basis makes Fallout 4 just unplayable, or at the very least, incredibly frustrating to play. And mind you, this is just the reality for console users right now. There is no downgrading on consoles. You can't mod this issue out. The existing workaround to just not use any mods that edit face-gen data. And let me remind you that none of this was a problem a year ago. These issues were only added by the next-gen update earlier this year. And the crazy part is, that isn't even the only problem. It's definitely the most notable because, yeah, stutters suck, but the problems from the next-gen patch go far deeper than that. If you happen to go to Vault 81 in the latest version of Fallout 4, you'll notice some quest-giving NPCs are broken. Tina DeLuca as well as this doctor don't have face-gen data. It seems like this was accidentally removed with the next-gen update, so now they just look like this all the time. Tina DeLuca is a fairly major character to just be visually broken for everyone's next-gen game. A ton of additional problems are exclusive to Xbox, such as search not really working. Looking up sim settlements, I have to scroll quite far to get to any of the actual sim settlements mods, and even the main mod never showed up for me. You can quite easily see how broken this is by doing the same search on Bethesda's website. Naturally, this makes installing mods a nightmare on consoles right now because finding them can be incredibly difficult. Other users on Xbox can't open the mod menu at all without it erroring out, or if they do get in, many have further issues with this operation could not be completed error, which will pop up as you go and try to download a mod. Thankfully, a restart seems to largely fix these two issues. Or perhaps the funniest bug of all, Bethesda literally added wall hacks for console users. Because now, while you're using VATS, it'll actually work through walls. Oh no, your shots don't go through the walls, you'll just constantly target the incorrect people that you can't actually land shots on. Oh yeah, and the hit chance will randomly go to 0, which is just annoying. I would say any of these issues individually would be quite bad, and probably would warrant a patch being released to address it. But when you combine them all together and add in the further context that these were added to the game with a next-gen update, I find the situation to just be quite ridiculous at this point. These were added with a haphazardly done next-gen update for an old game. Fallout 4 is nearly 9 years old now. For 8 of those years, we didn't have these problems, but then the developers came back, added in some new issues, and then just disappeared. It's been nearly 5 months, and plenty of players' enjoyment from Fallout 4 has plummeted as a byproduct of some of these issues being added. And what makes this far more egregious to me is issues like this aren't even exclusive to Fallout 4 in 2024. Fallout 76's most recent update broke loot bag spawning. Typically, when you take down an enemy, it'll drop as a corpse, but as more corpses spawn, they'll eventually convert to meat piles or loot bags. So you can loot everything once the event is over. You don't have to do it in real time. Except now those corpses are just not converting. So the corpse will despawn along with all of the loot that was on that corpse. As you can imagine, loot is a pretty important part of the experience in Fallout 76. So either missing out on loot or having to loot everything in real time as you're trying to play the game definitely affects things. This update came out just under 2 weeks ago and nothing has actually been fixed yet. On the Starfield side, we got a paid mod with one of the major selling points being this new weapon, except you can't reload it. On release, you couldn't reload it at all. Thankfully, Bethesda resolved that with an update, but now it'll just break again after some time. This weapon is literally the cover art of the paid mod. It's the selling point for a lot of people. Yet despite this being supposedly a more premium mod over alternatives, it still has a giant bug in it. Like yeah, paying $7 to get a quest and a new weapon, I kind of want to be able to reload the weapon. And even beyond that, this paid mod system in general has a ton of problems. You have stuff that is just low quality being sold, people taking free mods and relisting them as a paid mod, but actually with less content than the free version. All of these are mods that are approved by Bethesda to be sold. It's not like they can just freely post what goes up on this market, although it kind of seems like they can. And well, yeah, in fairness to Bethesda, they may have not known about these free alternatives. I don't know if they're necessarily searching Nexus mods for that, but it's also just not a problem. Bethesda explicitly says users can take a free mod and list it for sale via creations. This is discouraged, but in their FAQ, it's abundantly clear that this is technically allowed, and it's not even just technical. We're seeing examples of this in real time. But I would say this broader situation is making me more concerned for Bethesda, or really just disappointed disappointed in where things stand right now. These problems with Fallout 4 aren't some one-off thing. Several games now have had several issues at this point, and it's either taking a long time for a fix to come out, or in some of these examples, a fix might just never come. As it stands right now for Fallout 4, it's really not clear if these issues will be fixed by Bethesda or not. There was no movement on SteamDB for months up until last week when something was changed. This could indicate work on a patch is happening, or it might just not. We're about to cross the 5-month threshold since the next-gen update's release, and there hasn't been any communication around another update coming to fix some of the stuttering and other issues. Thankfully, modders have taken things into their own hands once again. On PC, you can download the mod XL, which will resolve the stuttering problem, as well as there is a mod to fix the Vault 81 face issues for both PC and Xbox players. But when it comes to stuttering on Xbox, no mod can fix this right now. The fix requires the script extender, which is only on PC. Bethesda needs to resolve this one, and I really hope they do. I don't enjoy making these videos. I don't want to be constantly bashing Bethesda for some of their business practices or decisions. But for me, you have to draw a line with stuff like this. Releasing an update for a game that creates a pretty fundamental problem with that game and then just not fixing it isn't okay. That's not like if an update came out tomorrow, everything would be absolved. The lack of communication is also a major issue. Bethesda has numerous times now said they'll be better about communication, and they don't really seem to be that much better about communication. And this overall situation has had some lasting impacts on Fallout 4's modding scene. We saw Fallout London having to pivot their entire strategy, which is kind of insane when you break it down. Like, imagine spending the better part of a decade working on a free, new game-sized mod for a relatively old game at this point, but then all of a sudden, right as you're approaching release of this giant project, you realize you actually can't release on the latest version of that game anymore because the developers broke it and are now just leaving it broken, or at least it seems that way right now. Like, that is just a rather absurd situation to be put in, and I have to imagine the Fallout London team had to do quite a bit of extra work because they first had to start updating for the next-gen version, but then once they realized, oh no, the game's just going to remain broken, they had to switch to downgrading back to the older version. And right now, as far as the Fallout 4 modding scene on PC goes, even though a fix for the stutter does exist, the consensus is still to downgrade to the version before the next-gen update, because frankly, the next-gen update didn't add anything worth upgrading for on PC, and plenty of mods have still never been updated to work with that version. So here we are, nearly 5 months later, and we're still left in this perplexing scenario where the next-gen update has left Fallout 4 in a worse position than it was last year for many players. Although, I do have to add a silver lining to this. I know for many Xbox Series X users in particular, this update did bring massive stability and performance improvements, in many ways making the game playable for a lot of people on that console. I've seen lots of reports saying this next-gen update didn't add anything of value, and that's simply not true. It has a lot of problems, and I'll be the first to criticize Bethesda for those problems, but it's also important to recognize that, yeah, for a ton of players out there, for many of those console players, the experience is a lot better if you're playing without mods. And honestly, just on a personal level, I feel kind of conflicted and almost confused about all of this. I think it's important for me to be highlighting these issues. I should be talking about how the game's still broken. But how long am I supposed to do this? I can't just keep making this video, as obviously it's not going to change anything. The game is broken. Bethesda are the only ones who can fix that, and if we just never get an update for Fallout 4, we're just kind of stuck with that. Me making a third video talking about the same stuff isn't going to help that situation much. So hopefully Bethesda does do something, but frankly, I wouldn't bet on that. If you are interested in learning a bit more about what's going on with this precarious paid mod situation, check out this video. Otherwise, thanks for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below.